This is the third trial session English assessment review for grade 9 at the International School of Innovation. The topics covered are as written below with a focus on preserving our planet and handicrafts. In what appears simply to be a challenging warehouse in the industrial zone of Adonis, Sami Abdel-Noor is shouting to be heard above the sound of machines. Threads of silk are hanging out to dry. Looms are spinning, threads dancing back and forth. Raw silk is being washed. Abdel-Noor is insisting that, despite a failing economy, the last vestiges of Lebanon's silk industry won't disappear. Yes, we will survive, he says firmly. With difficulties, over a century after silk was the engine of the Lebanese economy, the Abdel-Noor family is still busy making silk textiles and at the same time making history. Armed with only 20 workers and a handful of Swiss wooden and steel machines from the 1960s, their Le Bon Soie factory produces about 50,000 meters of brilliantly detailed fabric each year. At a time when little seems certain in the Middle Eastern marketplace, they are hoping that this will be enough to keep their factory and Lebanon's silk industry alive. The combination of a climate suited to mulberry trees, Ottoman taste, and easy access to sea and overland trade routes gave silk a vital role in Lebanon's 19th century economy. Today, Abdel Noor's small factory is among the last threads in Lebanon's silk story. The last century's trend toward cheap synthetic fabrics changed that. Now people wear other types of clothes, and we have to produce silk for decoration, he complained, pointing to piled up textiles headed for the furniture heap. This is all for curtains. In 1870, silk was still largely a local affair, with entrepreneurs encouraging families to cultivate silkworms at home. It was then that Abdullah's grandfather, Michael, built a small silk factory in Beirut. In those days, families extracted thread from cocoons and brought their raw material to Michael Abdel Noor to spin into finished product. These days, the raw silk, thick, long, and rough as horsehair, arrives at the Abdel Noor factory from China, an ironic modern take on ancient silk road. While cocoons may have disappeared from the factory, the rest of the process is still the same. The silk, still prepared by hand. And the last of Lebanon's silk history moves on. Yet few, like Abdel Noor, remain in Lebanon, and the silk production is a quiet one. Lebanese silk is so unknown, even locally, that business here, which carry Le Bon Soie fabrics, often lie about its origins. They say it's from the Europe because this makes local people assume that it's the highest quality. Sami says, they say that if they tell customers that the silk is Lebanese, then no one else will buy it. Ironically, the Abdel Noors have bypassed the local problem by marketing their textiles in Europe, a decision they hope will keep their factory afloat. They're always a little surprised that we're from Lebanon, but they react positively, says Judy Abdel Noor. They don't care where it's made as long as the quality is good, and they love the new designs. Okay, here for part 1, you have to answer the following questions and activities based on the text. The first question asks us to mention two contrasts, which are differences between the silk of old days and those produced by Abdel Noor's family these days. If we skim through the text, we can find some dates, like in paragraph 6. In 1870, silk was still largely a local affair, with entrepreneurs encouraging families to cultivate silkworms at home. So here we can say that it was largely popular, whereas silk today is not so popular, not as popular. Also, we can say that the cultivation was done in people's homes. Nowadays, the factories cultivate. Another one that we can say is also another difference is also that the families extracted thread from cocoons and brought their material to the Abd al-Noors to spin the finished product. However, now families don't bring their own material, they are just brought as well from they are bought from manufacturers. So here we can say that people used to bring the raw material to spin into finished product. Whereas now the Abd al-Noor factory receives the raw material from China. Okay, what do you think is the biggest difficulty that is faced by the silk businesses nowadays, according to the text? You can say here that the biggest difficulty is the competition between Lebanese manufacturers and foreign manufacturers. Okay, what are the two character traits that could best describe the Abd al-Noor family? Well, I would say that they are determined and they are determined to keep the Lebanese silk industry afloat. They don't want it to disappear. And further, they are also family oriented. So family is important to them as they want to keep their family's business together in order to help keep their family heritage alive. What are the purpose and tone of the writer? Well, the writer's purpose here can be that he wants to inform the readers about the silk industry of today compared to the silk industry of yesterday, as well as the importance of keeping their business alive. Now, the writer's tone here could be serious, Explain the idiomatic expression underlined in the text in your own words. Here, the idiomatic expression underlined is in the sentence, the Abdul Nur family is still busy making silk textiles and at the same time making history. What do they mean by this? What do they mean by making history? While they make the silk textiles, they are making history. Well, here it means that the textiles are preserved in time, meaning they will outlast our existence. Hence, last throughout time. Okay. Give the contextual meaning of the bold words in the text. Vestiges, synthetic, cultivate, customers, and afloat. Going back into the text, let's look to find the word vestiges. Raw silk is being washed. Abdul Nur is insisting that, despite a failing economy, the last vestiges of Lebanon's silk industry won't disappear. What does he mean here? He means vestiges is disappearing or no longer exists. Synthetic. The last century's trend toward cheap synthetic fabrics changed that. Now people wear other types of clothes, and we have to produce silk for decoration, he complained, pointing to piled up textiles headed for the furniture heap. This is all for curtains. So here he means fake or synthetic, which is artificial. Fake or artificial. So things that are fake or artificial are of course going to be cheaper than silk. Cultivate. In 1870, silk was still largely a local affair, with entrepreneurs encouraging families to cultivate silkworms at home. Cultivate means to grow or maintain. Okay. Customers. They say that if they tell customers that the silk is Lebanese, then no one else will buy it. Well, customers here must be the people who buy. A person who one has to deal with is a customer. So here is the consumer, the person who's buying the product. Okay, and afloat. Ironically, the Abdel Noors have bypassed the local problem by marketing their textiles in Europe, a decision they hope they will keep the factory afloat. Afloat means to keep them out of difficulty or debt. Okay. Complete the following clauses to make sentences that harmonize with what the writer says or implies. Because the Lebanese people don't trust the local industry. Now we have to look for the information in the text that's similar to this. They don't trust the local industry, so because they don't, so the Abd al-Noors say that they say the silk is from Europe. Okay? The higher the quality is, the more expensive the silk, or the price, you can say the price of the silk is. Okay. Change the structure of each of the following sentences, starting it as indicated without changing the meaning. Now people wear other types of clothes and we have to produce silk for decorations. Other types of clothes are worn now and silk has to be produced for decoration. This is a passive, active, active, passive type of question. Families extracted threads from cocoons and brought their raw materials. Threads from cocoons were extracted and their raw material was brought by families. Raw silk is being washed in the factory. Abd Nur family is washing raw silk in the factory. Make sure you revise the reported and direct speech handouts because you will for sure get questions on this in your test. Also, you must revise subject-verb agreement and all tenses. Modifiers are also important to revise. Study your notes and make sure you memorize the rules with the handouts that were given to you previously. Fill in the blanks with one word that fits the meaning being conveyed. In each case, make sure you use the correct part of speech and grammatical structure. So here you must have revised the grammar tenses. You can go to the previous videos to see revision on the grammatical tenses and refer to your last trial 2 worksheet to find information and review notes for tenses and all other grammar that will be included in your test, because you will be sure to have indirect and direct speech as well as the passive active questions for your exam. For centuries, silk has played an important role in the blank of Lebanon. At first, villages were the leading center of silk. Here, silk artisans blank it by rearing silkworms. At the time, silk found blank as well as international market. For the first one, we can say, for centuries, silk has played an important role in the heritage of Lebanon. At first, villages were the leading center of silk industries. Here, silk artisans produced it by rearing silkworms. At that time, silk found national as well as international market. Okay, so this type of a question is both vocabulary, where you use words from the text or your own words to fill in the sentences meaningfully. You must take note to the part of speech and the grammatical structure as well in order to get the full marks. So in your exams, also take note in each question, in each comprehension question, in the vocabulary questions, in the grammar questions, both parts of speech and the structure grammatically. Make sure things are in your own words. Remember, this text here was about handicrafts. However, you might get some kind of handicraft that's different from silk. You might get something similar. Don't forget that you might get something on preserving the earth, something about causes and effects, something about comparing and contrasting. You might get a narrative. Now, for the writing part that you should do for practice, you choose any of the popular crafts in your town. Talk about this craft, what difficulties it faces these days, and how it reflects your culture and customs. You should choose something other than silk. You can choose different things like brass crafting, or as we mentioned in class, we have glass blowing. And you can talk about the characteristics. What is the craft itself? For example, let's write here glass blowing. Okay, what are its difficulties? Here we might not have it in our area. What are the characteristics? Well, they mold the molten glass, which are easily moldable, and you can go back and refer to your textbook pages that we covered about different types of crafts. What is its importance? Why is it important to the heritage? This is the organizer you must have to fill. However, expect to have a normal outline in your trial 3, that you must have a thesis statement, a body, and a concluding paragraph as well. So each paragraph you know how to outline. Go back to your notes, refer to your notes, and make sure you include a title without writing the word title. Underline it, capitalize each word. Focus on thesis statement. Make sure that anything that's required of you in the writing prompt is included in your thesis, as well as in the outline. So here it's telling you to talk about the characteristics, importance, and difficulties. So if you were to do a regular outline, you would have part A, characteristics, B, difficulties, C, importance, and then you would write 1 or 2 things about each in order to have a complete outline. You write your complete thesis statement in a sentence here and a concluding statement here. So we can say in conclusion and continue. Please revise your notes and the outline worksheet, as well as the outline handout that shows you how to exactly write each sentence of each paragraph in your essay. Okay, good luck and best wishes to you, dears. Best of luck, my dears. Study hard.